Hey everybody, so we're back here. The same process I did with this guy, I'm going to do to the backside of the violin, but I mean, it's literally the same process, so I'm not going to show you guys that. But for this guy, this top plate, it is time to put in that bass bar that was right here. So, what I have here, piece of spruce. Now, a couple things that need to happen first. This is only supposed to be about 5 millimeters thick, and I have a sneaking suspicion that it is quite a bit more. Let me double check it here. Oh, I got this here. All right, so yeah, we're sitting about a little bit over 7 millimeters here. So I'm gonna have to use one of these guys, plane it down a little bit. And then I'm gonna have to map this out. And there's a process of mapping out certain, I don't want to call them quadrants, but some parts of this to figure out exactly the placement of this bass bar. So what I'm gonna do first is, I got my measuring tools here. I'm going to go through, and I'm gonna map it, and then I'll show you guys before we start working on this bass bar, the place. All right, I finally have this guy mapped out. I'm gonna spare you some of the equations, but it just started off with finding the line down the middle, which is easy because it's a two-part back, and two-part, and you can see the seam. Dividing that in half. Now this top part, that measurement divided by 5, and then that little increment from the top here. You can see I marked it right here, and then I put a spot right here. And this back side, it's the same number as the front side, just divided by 4. So we've got a little bit bigger of an increment from the back here. Then the thickest part here divided by 7, thickest part here divided by 7, and that shows you how far to come off that center line. So you can see right here, this is where the base of the bass bar is going to go, and it's going to ride up here to this part right here. Okay. So that's all set to go. Now I need to go through, take some thickness out of this, and then I have to measure this. It's supposed to be 270 millimeters. So right now, or I'm sorry, 277. Currently I'm at, oh hey, 277. Weird. I must have had this cut for something else and then decided not to use it. I'm not sure why. It's perfect. I just got to get some of the thickness out. So let me get some of the thickness out, and then I'll kind of show you where we're starting from, and I'll come back. As you guys can see here, I took out some of the thickness of this bass bar. Before I get this stuff out of here, let me just move this over. So here's kind of the biggest task in this process of cutting the bass bar is, clearly, you know, we got a concave surface here, and I have a bass bar that's got a flat side. So when I sit it here, put it in there, put it in there, you can see it goes right underneath there. So what I basically start by doing, so I pick a direction I want it to go. You know, that way when in the middle of cutting some of this stuff down, I don't flip it around and mess up what I'm doing. So I'll put an arrow on the top. Put an arrow on the top that shows what direction I'm doing this in, pointing towards the front of the instrument. I'll start by taking off some of this side, and then you see the more I do that, the lower it starts to sit in there. So I'll come back with you guys about midway through the process, show you my progress, if you will. Here, I'll show you, kind of see if I can get a close-up for you guys. Kind of sit it where it's supposed to go. Alright, you see that big old gap under there, so we got to fit this down into the curve of that instrument. So again, I'll be back with you in a few minutes once I get a little bit more progress done. Alright, I'm back here. I've been taking some of this off. So here's what I'll show you, the start of how I do it. So this was the same thickness through front and back, so I just start by taking off some of this, and you know, same at the back side, and slowly it just starts to work its way down into the curve. And this is one of those parts of the process that can be quite maddening, because you want it to be as perfect as you can get it. Now I know that when I glue this in there, some of the glue could take up some of the gaps, but you can see here it's already, just by taking off parts from the front and the back, you can see how it starts to fit down in here. So I'm going to work a little bit more, and I'll check back with you. And then as soon as it's fitting the way it's going to, then we'll glue it in for tonight. And then we got to wait for that to dry. So that's going to be the last part until. Hey guys, so I have this fairly. Let me see here. I have this fairly fit down in there. It's kind of hard to see here, but so here's what I do now to do the final. Just trying to get it as close as possible. Like I said, this part can be quite maddening. And so here's what I do. So I was using just this flat plane here to get away most of this stuff. And it's funny, this is all from that bass bar. So I get into this point where I try to lightly just start scraping it away, and then if you for some reason catch a grain of wood, and then that part's no good anymore. So I'm gonna drop this guy down here, and I'm gonna pick up my scraper and just take off the smallest points, trying to get that to sit right down in there before we clamp it down. So I'll be right back with you guys as soon as I get this as close as I want it to be here before I show you how we clamp it down and glue it. All right, my glue is melted. You can see here in this little pot here, coffee pot, excuse me. Got our base bar, and that is fit to this curve. Now, here's what you do. All right, so I got a pile of them here. These are base bar clamps. So I have this little piece of cork that's going to go underneath that, so the bottom of this doesn't mar up this part of the wood here. And then I'm going to put glue on the bottom of this guy. I'm going to clamp it in one by one, and then it just has to stay for that pretty much overnight. So let me go ahead and put the glue on it, get it clamped up, and I'll show you that. Right. So I have it all glued in here, and it's all clamped up. Here we go. Let me show you right here. All right, so you can see from the top here, all these clamps holding it down. Let's see if I can flip this camera around. Here we go. So we got this thing to fit down in there, and then we just clamp it on there, and that glue will be dry. Usually in, I'd say 4 hours it's set pretty good. Except for this stuff, I like to just wait for it to to cure overnight, and then we will be ready to go from there. See you guys next week. See you on our next video.